For centuries, the classic combination in battle has been the equal parts offense and defense of the sword and shield. As seen with knights, gladiators, rich Vikings, and wherever you cast a stone during the Greco-Roman era. This combination has gone through several different changes, each with their own sets of advantages and disadvantages, be it a differently shaped shield, a different kind of sword, or even having a spear or an axe in place of the sword. But what if we dropped the shield entirely and replaced it with another sword? What would be the advantages? What would be the disadvantages? And how would we navigate the strategy of such a weapon? We'll find out today. Before we go any further, be sure to comment, like and subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a new video.
The Shuang Dao uses two broadswords or Chinese sabers, each held in each hand. We've before discussed the characteristics of the Dao sword, with its single edge and greater mass in the end of the blade, making it an ideal cutting and chopping weapon as opposed to puncturing. Now because the Dao was an easier weapon to pick up and use than the Jian, it was regularly handed out to infantry since its inception during the Shang dynasty, and typically was paired with the shield. It seems that the Shuang Dao is more of a modern style, with there not being a lot of records of the form being used in combat, which could mean that either it was used but just not written about, or the records were lost, or alternatively it happened rarely if ever, which is likely given the context. When you have a sword and a shield, you have equal parts offense and defense. When in position and preparing for a round of arrows, the shield was critical to maintain lives as well as formation. This was a scenario which would often be drilled and practiced because it was so critical to warfare. Could you imagine having a second sword instead of a shield against a wave of arrows? Practical suicide, let alone during the chaotic meeting of the two sides. In such a context, maintaining defense was crucial, as attacks could come from all sides, and having any sort of guard against spears, arrows and swords was critical. Having two swords rather than one only makes sense in the context of single combat, a duel or spar, when you only concentrate on the immediate threat of your opponent, which adds greater context as to why the Shuang Dao has become so popular in modern times, as martial arts, and especially Kung Fu, have for better or worse become recreational rather than a necessity of warfare.
Although I would still argue that martial arts is still a necessity even if you are not partaking in warfare. But enough about history and context as we take a look now at the real meat and potatoes of today's video, as we take a look at some formwork for the Shuang Dao. And that is the Shuang Dao. Next time we'll be going back to Norman Shaolin as we take a look at the third form of this martial art. But until then, thank you all for watching, and until next time everyone, peace be with you.